Hi, this video is about using Logger Pro to graph data in science. Let's say that I wanted to make a graph of a lab that I did that involved weighing paper clips on a triple beam balance. Let's say that I found the mass, measured the mass of 10, 20, 30, 40, and 60 paper clips. And when I've measured the mass, I got the following values in grams: 11, 21.5, 29.7, 42, and 61 grams. So when you open Logger Pro and you're graphing data, the first thing you want to do is plot the data. That is to say, enter the data in the X and Y columns over here on the left. And you can do that as I just did. And what you will typically see is a graph over here on the right side. And Logger Pro by default connects the dots for you, which is not what we want it to do. But we'll come back to that in just a second. Remember that we have this Graphing in Data Science handout. I kind of summarized it here on the left for things that we want to do. We want that graph to be as large as possible, and it looks pretty good, although I'm going to go ahead and do this auto scale function. So with your mouse, right click on the graph and go to auto scale. And if you auto scale from 0, that'll make the graph as large as possible and will allow you to see the origin in the lower left corner. It's already done that. That's good. And we need to label our axes so we know what's on the y-axis and what's on the x-axis. So let me right click again, and I'll pull up something that's called column options. And under X, that's my horizontal axis. That was my number of paper clips. And the short name might just be, I don't know, the number sign. And there are no units for number paper because it's just a number. Numeric, I think that's good. So that shows up down here on the x-axis, and it also, the abbreviation shows up in the data set up here at the top. Let's do the same thing for the y-axis. So right-click, column options, y-axis, and this would be mass. And the short name for mass, the abbreviation might be a lowercase m, and maybe the units are grams, so I'll use a G for grams. And good, it put mass on the y-axis here, and also labeled the y column of data up there, which is very good. Another thing I want to do is put a title on here. So if I right-click once again, and this time instead of column options, I'm going to go to graph options. And that pulls up a whole series of things. But one of the things you'll see is a blank for title. Now, to make a good title, we want to make the title descriptive of what was going on. So I don't want to use words that I've already used on my axes. So I don't want to say mass in the title. I don't want to say just number of paper clips in the title. The worst kind of title would be simply a regurgitation of what's already on the axis. I don't want to make my title the mass of paper clips. That's already clear based on the axes label. So I want to call it something else. So maybe I'll say measuring jumbo paper clips on a triple beam balance. So that tells the reader, the viewer of the graph, okay, exactly what kind of paper clips you were dealing with. These are the large jumbo kind, and how we measured the mass. So that gives a little bit more information than just saying mass and paper clips over again in the title. So that's a decent title. We've already placed the independent variable on the x-axis, and the mass depends on the number of clips. That's the dependent variable that goes on the y-axis. One of the things we don't want to do is we don't want Logger Pro to keep connecting the dots. So to get rid of that, I would right-click again and go to graph options. And then over here where this box is checked, connect points, we want to uncheck that and hit OK. And the points are there, but they're really, really small and they're kind of hard to see. So let's have Logger Pro circle them so that we can see where the points are. So right-click again, graph options, and then point symbols, or there'll be kind of make the points more obvious. I think that'll use different things for the points and allow us to see them. Yeah, in essence, it just circled the points so we can see where they are. The rightmost is over here on the screen. And the last thing we need to do is to connect the dots in a way that makes sense physically. So I hope it's obvious to you that if you have more paper clips, you're going to have more mass. And generally, the mass of each paperclip should be the same. So we should get a nice straight line connecting these things. And so I'm going to go up here to this curve fit option. I'm going to choose curve fit. And that brings up a number of different mathematical functions that we could use to fit the data. And I guarantee you that as you play around with this, you'll find probably 5 or 6 that actually kind of connect those dots in a weird way. But we want the simplest one that works. And for us, that's going to be a line. So it turns out there are 2 choices for a line. Linear, which allows the y-intercept to move up and down the y-axis, or proportional, which kind of sets the y-intercept at 0. Well, for us, how do we determine which one we want? These are both straight line relationships, the proportional one and the linear one. Which one do we want? Well, if we have 0 paperclips, no paperclips, how much mass do we have? We should have no mass. So in other words, it should go through the origin. And I think we want this proportional fit, which is the very first one there. So let's do try, it's already selected. Let's do try fit. That looks good. We'll hit OK. And so it draws the line for us. And it tells us the equation for that line. So here it says m equals capital A pound sign. So m is for mass. Capital A in this case is the slope. And the pound sign is the number of clips. So capital A we're told is 1.026 plus or minus 0.0127, a tiny little error there. But in general, it tells us that the mass of each paperclip, the slope there, is just over 1 gram each, which makes sense. Jumbo paperclips generally have a mass close to 1 gram, which is it. And so at this point, you're ready to either save the graph or print the graph. And if you have questions, please ask me in class.